ready to finish up this Trimet board meeting, and we're on the DHM survey.
Just a reminder, this is Tri-County area. Statewide, we're going to see numbers about 10 points lower than we see here in more urban areas. So places like even Eugene, we're closer to 50%. When you go outside of urban areas, it's really closer to 40% positive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We did ask people what was the one major problem they would like to see improved around transportation in the Portland area. And those top two concerns are really related. So people are saying there's a lot of traffic and congestion. And one solution they might want to see is that roads are expanded, right, to hold more capacity. Public transportation was the third most common.
All right, folks, you heard her. Road expansion. People want roads. All right, that's what the majority of citizens want. I know it's not green. I know it's not all sustainable and blah-de-blah. People drive, okay? They want roads. And even the Trimet employed survey, which you know is biased to Trimet and Metro, can't hide the fact that people want roads, okay? Because they drive. Because public transportation is not something that's an option for most of the citizens of this country, especially in Portland, unless you live downtown.
Improvement, and I'll just note that although there hasn't been a huge change in the percent naming public transportation, that represents kind of an increase in its standing. So maybe below it was in the top 10, and now it's come up to the top 5 or top 3 here. And so that just is an opportunity to maybe more strongly link in the public's mind that public transportation is a solution to the traffic and congestion problems, or it could be.
It's not a solution for a whole variety of reasons. Spend some time listening to the scanner and watching the tweets, okay? Just real life stuff. And it's not reliable. The buses break down. They're overloaded. I mean, all it takes is for you to get past one time. And if that's how things are, you're not going to want to take it, okay? It doesn't run 24 hours. It doesn't run frequently. It is not a solution because the transit systems in this country are made for second-class use. They don't run frequently. They don't run late. They're not clean. There's no good transit in this country except New York City, which is 24 hours and fast. I mean, how long does it take you to get from the airport to downtown Portland? It takes an hour. You can drive there in 20 minutes if there's no traffic. And even if there is traffic, you can drive there in 40 minutes.
That they do care about strongly. Next, we're just going to go over the general approval and satisfaction questions we ask every year. We can see here in green, you have the overall job approval of Trimet, and it is at 80% approval is the highest since 2008. And you can see there's just been a steady increase from that 2013 point. Max approval in blue is consistently fairly high and remains high, and bus approval is about 76%.
I find that highly suspicious. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll get to what they probably how they ask the questions, but I don't know. I know that most people only ride occasionally, and most people don't encounter any problems. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that that would be the response for the average citizens who don't pay any attention to any of this transit, Trimet intricacies like we do here. You know, they don't care about it. They don't think about it. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but it's not really a reliable in terms of the people that actually use it. I don't think that's accurate. If they polled only riders who use the transit system 3 or more times a week, I'm sure they wouldn't get that response.
I think even more than that overall approval, on this graph, if you look at that top dark box, that's the strongly approved. There was a big increase from 27% strongly improved last year to 47% strongly approved this year. I think that speaks really well of public perceptions around Trimet and how well Trimet is doing to meet the public's needs.
That's really bizarre. I just don't understand why there'd be such a great uptick in satisfaction when the Max has really been struggling lately. So I don't know. And once again, I think it's just the people who are not exposed very often to the Trimet system.
And I've presented to a lot of organizations over time, and when an organization is accustomed to seeing 80% year over year, you wonder, what's the context to that? A lot of things have to go well. So Trimet is doing a lot of things right from the perception of the public to have numbers like this.
So she's supposed to know what she's talking about, and what do we know? I just follow it every day along with a group of other people. What do we know? We just happen to watch it every goddamn day and see what's going on. But what do we know? We don't know anything, apparently. We're part of the 20%. Who's the other 20%? I want to get, what we need to do is have a meeting of the 20% of riders that don't like the Trimet system to get together and find out why we all don't think it's as hot as they try to present to us.
So to see, even going back several years, a strong approval in the 30%, that's not uncommon, but to then see it close to 50%, that's pretty rare. And we will always have somewhere between 10 and 15% disapprove of anything you're going to do. So
I've never noticed that.
and that's the right attitude, yeah.
See what she just said? See, they just discounted the people that don't agree. But let me tell you something. The majority of Americans approved of Trump, okay, in the last election. And the majority of Americans approve of Trimet. There you go. Well, I guess it wasn't the majority of Americans. It was actually the minority. Let me qualify that. The majority of Americans are stupid. All right, let me just qualify. What the majority thinks is usually wrong. All right, let's get that straight. The majority doesn't know shit about Shinola.
Because you will see consistently in any question that we ask, we're going to have somewhere in that 10 to 15% who just give a negative rating.
We did ask what was the one thing Trimet could do to increase people's approval ratings, and the top two things they call for are improved service on routes, and that means things like frequency, more frequency, running on time, and the hours you run, right, those weekends kind of hours. Expanding routes, either new bus routes, new MAX routes, and then there in your top three is 15% who said they don't.
No, here goes the spin. These people are masterful spin doctors. They didn't say, they said improve service. They didn't say anything about expanding service here. The majority of people want what we have improved. That's what the people want. I know that because I used to work there. I interact with the public. I interact with social. I know, okay? We're not DHM in some office calling random people with leading questions, okay? Nobody wants to really expand light rail, but this is where they're going with this. You see this, right? People want good service. The services that are on the ground now, they want those beefed up. That's what people want.
Don't have any specific improvement to suggest. Here, just seeing some of those same charts again for bus approval. Again, a shift to the strongly improved, 41% strongly improved of the bus system this year, and on the MAX, 55% strongly improved. MAX is consistently higher and has been remaining high. Okay. When we asked riders how satisfied they are with their experience to get an idea of how you're serving those who use Trimet, 85% were satisfied, and again, 51, half, very satisfied.
I don't think it's wrong to say that the majority are satisfied. I don't think that's wrong. I think that's very likely. The people have been conditioned to accept bad service, and that's why they're okay with it. It's an American phenomenon, this conditioning that people are subjected to. I mean, why would you be happy with a sardine can for a train? But people are conditioned to accept these kind of conditions around us here. And so, I mean, I think the majority are okay with it because they don't know there's any other options.
Okay. Then we ask a few questions on different aspects of service. So the first is safety. And you see here that over 7 in 10 approve of safe operations for bus on the left in yellow and max on the right in blue. And although we didn't show benchmarking, I will note again that there was significant uptick in the strong approval. It was before around 30-some%, and now you're getting above 40. In terms of reliability, again, it's been fairly stable the past 3 years that these questions have been asked. About 76% think bus is reliable. That's a positive rating on the scale, and 82% give MAX a positive reliability rating. You know, every year we get an idea of the ridership on Trimet in the general population, and so I will first just point out that over 7 in 10 people in the area are riding Trimet. So that is a great reach of the population. About 18% are frequent or regular, so several times a week to almost every day.
That also doesn't jive. The last statistics I saw were 12% of the general population uses Trimet. Now, if you use it once a year, I mean, you go to the game on Trimet, for example, I guess that would skew the statistics, but I mean, they've done studies outside of DHM about transit ridership in the United States, and the last time I saw, I think it was 12.8% of the population used Trimet.
The next slide just gives us an idea about whether people have the choices that people have. So you can see most riders, 77% there in green, are choice riders. That means they either have a car but prefer to take Trimet, or they prefer Trimet and just have chosen to not have a car. Nevertheless, when we look at our frequent and regular riders, the transit dependent in yellow shows that 1 in 3 rely on Trimet, and if they didn't have Trimet, they would have difficulties getting around. So I think that is also important to realize that we are serving, or you are serving, people who really need this service.
Well, it's obvious. It's no big mystery there. Every city in the country, every city in the world has a transit system because people that live in cities are not always in a position to own a car for multiple reasons. And the transit dependent, I want to see a survey of the transit dependent and how they view the transit system.
The majority of riders do have other choices, and so this year some new questions explored the choices that riders might have. We first asked people if they are riding Trimet more, less, or the same as last year. Most people, 6 in 10, use Trimet consistently the same amount as they did the previous year. And you see 22% riding less, 12% riding more. Some other questions looked at the reasons people shifted and where they shifted to. Those riding more often do so because of lifestyle changes. These are things such as I got a new job somewhere else, right? Or I moved house. I retired. So those are things that Trimet may not be able to control. But the next top reason is convenience and comfort. Here again, that theme of convenience. So Trimet is easy to use. There's less stress if I'm taking transit versus driving. I like to relax and read, those sort of things.
And what may be important to note here, I mean, cost is a factor, right, as just any kind of choice or behavior change. It's not the biggest driver for people making their choices around ridership. So either riding more or less, cost is not the #1 driver.
Right. Right.
You know, when they say a lot of people have a choice to not use Trimet, they're talking about people on the outside of on the outside of Portland who commute into Portland. And a lot of people don't take their car to Portland because there's parking restrictions, expensive parking. The traffic to Portland from the east and the west is ridiculous. So even though they say they're choice riders, they're not really choice riders because there's no really other way to get into Portland. And I don't know, these surveys, you know, I'm always suspicious of everything that comes out of the Trimet management. But you know, look, we're gonna finish this clip tomorrow or another day because it's going on too long. But look, if they're right, if all of this is right, and what's Trimet worried about? They're going to get their tax increase without. It's going to be no problem if all of this material that they're presenting to us is accurate, and we'll find out because that's going to go to the voters. Unless they figure out some way to get the legislatures to do it to avoid the voters. Don't forget, the last several tax increases have been voted down. So, you know, these kind of questions are one thing, and then when you get down to opening your pocketbook, that's a whole other thing. We'll finish this presentation up another time.